Next, on Currents News, with just a week to go, a divided Congress battled it out on the House floor, impeaching President Trump in the wake of the Capitol Hill attacks. Then, abortion, the death penalty, all back front and center. How will the country's second Catholic president handle these major Catholic concerns? Plus, Pope Francis gets his shot. Jessica Easthope reports on the Vatican's vaccination rollout. And
dental jobs being flagged consistently as some of the most dangerous to have during the pandemic. I'm Emily Druby, and coming up, I'll show you how they're staying safe.
The news starts right now.
Is the president's war on democracy in keeping with the Constitution?
Democrats are going to impeach the president for a second time 1 week before he leaves office. Why?
After a day of intense debate, the House of Representatives has impeached President Donald J. Trump. Good evening. I'm Christine Persichetti. In a historic first, Trump becomes the first president in history to be impeached twice. The vote coming just a week after a violent mob took over the Capitol, passing 232 to 197, with 10 Republicans voting against the president.
We are debating this historic measure at an actual crime scene, and we wouldn't be here if it weren't for the President of the United States.
Exactly 1 week after protesters stormed the Capitol, the House debated impeaching President Trump on one count, inciting an insurrection.
The President of the United States incited this insurrection, this armed rebellion against our common country. He must go. He is a clear and present danger to the nation that we all love.
I cannot think of a more petty, vindictive, and gratuitous act than to impeach an already defeated president a week before he is to leave office.
President Trump denied responsibility for the riot.
Statement from the president. I urge that there must be no violence, no lawbreaking, no vandalism of any kind. This is not what I stand for.
Unlike President Trump's first impeachment in 2019, this time some Republicans voted with Democrats to impeach.
With a heavy heart and clear resolve, I will vote yes on these articles of impeachment.
Yet most House Republicans argue that impeachment will ultimately do more harm than good.
A vote to impeach will further fan the flames of partisan division.
Although the House has the power to impeach, it's the Senate that holds a trial and can ultimately remove Trump from the presidency and potentially bar him from ever seeking office again. The FBI says they've opened more than 160 case files since the attack on the Capitol, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. While prosecutors are weighing sedition and conspiracy charges, federal investigators have fanned out across the country looking for those involved. This after receiving more than 100,000 tips from the public and vowing to leave no stone unturned.
I anticipate that's going to grow to the hundreds in the next coming weeks. We've already charged over 70 cases. Their only marching orders from me are to build seditious and conspiracy charges related to the most heinous acts that occurred in the Capitol. And these are significant charges that have felonies with prison terms of up to 20 years.
The FBI is also considering putting some of the offenders on a federal no-fly list.
Pay attention. Stop talking. Pay attention.
With a week to go before Inauguration Day, security is still a major concern in the nation's capital. The National Guard being issued weapons up on Capitol Hill. 15,000 of them could be deployed to secure the ceremony. Troops are already camped out at the Capitol. Authorities are also warning state capitals around the country to be prepared for armed protests leading up to the inauguration. But no city is more at risk than Washington, D.C. Kevin Lewis reports.
Perhaps the starkest image was non-scalable fencing wrapped around the U.S. Supreme Court. It's similar to the metal fencing crews erected around the U.S. Capitol last week. D.C. Public Works dump trucks are being used to block several roadways, including Pennsylvania Avenue near the Canadian Embassy. A D.C. government also announced these street closures that will remain in effect until at least after Inauguration Day.
Well, good afternoon.
And Virginia Governor Ralph Northam and D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser greeted National Guard members. There are around 7,000 already in or on their way to D.C. from Delaware, Maryland, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, and Virginia.
I realize some of you are students. A lot of you have jobs, you have families, and you had to leave that behind for the next month.
I just want to share with you that the people of the District of Columbia are grateful for you being here. And I know that Americans across all of our states and our wonderful city are also grateful for your service.
Make no mistake, security enhancements will continue with more fencing and barricades to build as people's curiosity and anxiety also grow.
That was Kevin Lewis reporting. And as Representative Jim Jordan from Ohio quoted earlier, President Trump released a statement asking for peace from his supporters, saying, "In light of reports of more demonstrations, I urge that there must be no violence, no law breaking, and no vandalism of any kind. That is not what I stand for, and it is not what America stands for. I call on all Americans to help ease tensions and calm tempers." As for President-elect Joe Biden, he says he is not afraid to be inaugurated outside. Two top Trump appointees at the U.S. Census are pushing to figure out who is in the country illegally, according to the Bureau's watchdog agency. The Deputy Director of Policy and Deputy Director of Data are behind the effort to get a report on the undocumented. 2 years ago, the president ordered the Census Bureau to use administrative records to figure out who's in the country illegally, after the Supreme Court blocked the administration's effort to put a citizenship question on the 2020 census questionnaire. The Supreme Court has ruled that women who want the abortion pill must go in person to get it. The ruling reinstates a requirement that had been modified by a lower court, which allowed the pills to be received by mail because of the pandemic. The FDA mandate that it be dispensed and administered in person had been in place since 2000. The regulation is part of the protocol reserved for higher-risk drugs and procedures. Meantime, in America's abortion capital, a lawsuit has been filed against New York's Reproductive Health Act. The plaintiffs claim the law, which legalized abortion up to birth in some cases, enables domestic abuse by removing penalties for the death of unborn children resulting from abuse. The suit also alleges that by deregulating abortion and expanding the number of staff who can perform the procedure, it lowers safety standards for women and puts them at greater risk. Coming up in this newscast, the executive director of Democrats for Life, Kristen Day, will talk about what we can expect during a Biden administration. Will the country's second Catholic president move to take a more moderate stance on abortion? And can the Democrats be swayed? That's still ahead in this newscast. Anyone flying from overseas will soon need to show proof that they don't have COVID-19. The CDC announcing a requirement that anyone returning to the U.S. from international travel must bring proof of a negative test within 3 days of their flight. They can also board if they can prove they had the virus in the past and have recovered. The new order will take effect in 2 weeks. The Vatican officially began its rollout today. Pope Francis got the shot after the Holy Father announced he would be getting the COVID-19 vaccine as soon as it became available. Currents News' Jessica Easthope has more.
The Holy Father is halfway to being immune to COVID-19. Pope Francis received his first dose of the coronavirus vaccine Wednesday as the Vatican began its rollout. And Vatican sources are reporting Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI is also scheduled for his first dose. Vatican City was provided with specialized freezers to store the Pfizer vaccines, which researchers and church officials declared was more morally sound than other options like AstraZeneca's vaccine, due to the amount of cell lines used from aborted fetuses.
It does not produce other abortions, but it uses the cell lines already present in the laboratories. Material involvement means that receiving the vaccine does not share the intention of the person who performed the abortion.
On Wednesday, Paul VI Hall was transformed into this hospital setting. Pope Francis reportedly among one of the first of the 450 Vatican residents to get the first shot. In a statement, Pope Francis expressed his support for the vaccine as a moral obligation. He said, quote, "Ethically, everyone must get the vaccine. It's an ethical option. because your health is at stake, your life, but also the lives of others. The Vatican's vaccine rollout marks the beginning of the end of a period of concern for the Holy See. Over the last several months, more than 24 Vatican residents contracted the virus. Pope Francis's trips were canceled, and he began hosting his audiences virtually. An effort, he said, could never substitute being together when he did meet face-to-face with pilgrims in early September.
Dopo tanti mesi, riprendiamo il nostro incontro faccia a faccia, e non schermo a schermo, faccia a faccia. Questo è bello.
Now, this first round of vaccines is bringing that closer to reality. After all Vatican residents receive their first doses, it's expected any surplus will be given to people in need outside the Vatican. Pope Francis will get his second dose in 3 weeks. Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
There's a lot more news headed your way. It's one of the most dangerous jobs during the pandemic, but dentists are keeping their patients safe. We'll tell you how. Plus, more mass vaccination sites are opening up. When and where you can get your shot is coming up. And firefighters to the rescue. After helping this elderly victim survive a fire, they came to her rescue a second time. We'll explain.
Now you can help us put your faith in the news. The next time you capture a newsworthy event, send us your pictures or video. It's easy. Go to netny.tv/send us, and you may see your submission on Currents News.
New mass vaccination sites are opening up as New York pushes to get more people vaccinated. Starting Wednesday, the Javits Center, which functioned as a massive field hospital last spring, will now serve as a vaccine distribution hub. On Thursday, a drive-through vaccination site will open at Jones Beach on Long Island. And following the announcement that Citi Field will offer the vaccine later this month, the New York Yankees said they are finalizing details with the city to transform their stadium into a vaccination site, too. Vaccinations aside, jobs in the dental field have been considered some of the most dangerous during this pandemic. But so far, dentists and their staffs have managed to stay safe, even safer than most other healthcare professionals. Currents News' Emily Druby is in Dyker Heights to tell us how.
N95 on.
Dentist Joseph Izzo starts his morning by gearing up.
We're wearing gowns, we're wearing face shields, we're wearing masks, we're protecting our eyes.
Everything to limit the spread of germs. Plastic coats surfaces he might touch, warning signs greet guests in the lobby, and a special air filtration system sits in the corner.
When you're dealing with aerosols and you're dealing with airborne pathogens, the problem is tremendously more difficult to appropriately address.
The dental field is flagged as high risk because of the pandemic, consistently topping most dangerous jobs list. People left thinking, can I go to the dentist? Is it safe? Some offices across the country citing a drop in patients, and studies estimate that dental care spending could have dropped by 38% in 2020. But dentists have been able to stay pretty safe. A study by the American Dental Association found the average monthly rate of dentists with COVID-19 is under 1%. Dentists credit years of perfecting ways to stop the spread of infections. Enhanced protections started ramping up in the mid-'80s.
We in dentistry have been at the forefront in some respects of infection control. It goes back to the early days of AIDS.
Working inside someone's mouth forces you to learn how to keep everyone safe.
While we were always aware of what we needed to do, the level that we brought it up to was really pretty amazing. And I think because of that, we were prepared for this.
And it's a good thing they were prepared. While telemedicine did provide some relief for patients, they needed to get people back into the office as quickly as possible.
We have to find a way to do it so that the people who are in need get proper attention and can be taken care of. And that's what we've done.
Now, Dr. Izzo is personally feeling a little safer. As a hospital employee, he was able to get both of his COVID shots. The rest of the office is in that process now too, but the extra safety protocols won't be going anywhere anytime soon. They'll keep it up until there is herd immunity. In Dyker Heights, Brooklyn, Emily Druby, Currents News.
Inauguration Day is exactly a week away, and we will have our second ever Catholic president. Still, Catholic voters are concerned about issues important to them, particularly abortion. Joining us now is Executive Director of Democrats for Life, Kristen Day. And Kristen, nice to have you back. The last time we spoke, Joe Biden was just a candidate in the race. And in an op-ed, you said if elected, Joe Biden would be the most pro-abortion president in history. Well, now he's the president-elect. So what does this mean for abortion laws?
Well, first of all, I hope he proves me wrong. But there is a lot to be worried about. You know, we have some executive orders on the ACA that prevented taxpayer funding of abortion. We have Title X funding. We have the Born Alive Survivors Executive Order. And one of the biggest issues right now we're focusing on is the Hyde Amendment, that Joe Biden and the Democratic Party just said that they wanted to overturn the Hyde Amendment, and that would allow unlimited taxpayer funding of abortion. So that's probably the number one top issue for us right now.
Right. So now that Democrats have the majority in both houses of Congress, can the party be swayed to take a more moderate stance on abortion?
Well, it's interesting because the numbers are so close in both the House and the Senate. So we need about 6 Democrats to say that they don't want to overturn Hyde, and we only need 1 in the Senate. And that 1 has already come out. Joe Manchin said that he would not overturn Hyde. We're grateful for him to standing up and saying that he would vote to continue the ban on taxpayer funding of abortion.
All right, so that's good news. Some states are taking on the issue of abortion. In New York, the Reproductive Health Act, which was enacted in 2019, legalizes abortion in some cases up until birth. And the New Jersey governor just this week proposed that doctors no longer be the only medical professionals permitted to terminate pregnancies. What are your thoughts on all of this?
It's so interesting because in his speech yesterday, the governor of New Jersey spoke about how he doesn't want any woman to have to experience the loss of a child when talking about maternal mortality. And in the sentence right before that, he talked about allowing abortion up to 9 months. There's a real disconnect between what he's saying and what he should be doing. So we are really promoting in New Jersey particularly that the legislature needs to step back and look at what they're doing with this bill. What are they doing to provide access to women who don't want abortion? What about alternatives? It's mostly poor and minority women who are seeking abortion. What is the legislator doing to address that inequity?
Right. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court just reinstated the FDA's ban on getting abortion pills through the mail. Do you think now that the High Court has a conservative majority, things will change?
Well, I think there will be more challenges going up to the Supreme Court on both sides. We see like the South Carolina legislature is going to pass a 6-week ban. We see South Dakota passing a ban on aborting babies with Down syndrome. So I think there will be a lot of challenges going up to the Supreme Court on this, and we hope that the pro-life side will prevail.
All right, the death penalty has been in the news a lot recently. This week, the first woman since 1953 was executed here in the U.S. What does the Democratic majority on Capitol Hill mean for this pro-life issue?
We have an opportunity with the death penalty to ban it permanently. Senator Durbin and Congresswoman Presley introduced legislation to ban the death penalty. We endorse it. We are a pro-life for the whole life organization. We think that any use of violence is not a way to address violence. So we would like to see that passed. I think we have an opportunity there with the majority, Democratic majority. But again, the margin is so slim. So in the Senate, if you lose 1 person, it won't go anywhere. And again, in the House, if you lose 6, it won't pass.
All right, Kristen Day, Executive Director of Democrats for Life. Thanks for being with us again.
Thank you so much.
That execution I just mentioned happened early Wednesday morning in Indiana. Lisa Montgomery died by lethal injection, the first woman executed in the U.S. in nearly 70 years. This after the Supreme Court denied her attorney's argument that she receive a competency hearing. They wanted to prove she had a severe mental illness that would have made her ineligible for the death penalty. Montgomery was sentenced to death for the 2004 murder of a pregnant woman. U.S. bishops are asking President Trump to put an end to executions and are also asking President-elect Biden to make it a priority. The bishops writing in a joint statement earlier this week, following a year where the federal government for the first time executed more people than all 50 states combined. There are 3 more federal executions scheduled this week. It is long past time to abolish the death penalty from our state and federal laws. Still to come on Currents News, the tragic story of one North Carolina woman who lost her son once only to lose him again when her home went up in flames, and the firefighters who went beyond the call of duty to help her when we come back. Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number 718-517-3122. We'll be right back. Firefighters in Raleigh, North Carolina go beyond the call of duty to help an elderly woman who lost everything when her home went up in flames. Brian Mims has the heartwarming story.
Somewhere among the rubble and soot are the ashes.
I can never recover, no.
The ashes of Betty Campbell's son, who died from COVID last April. She kept them in the corner of this shed she called home.
It really hurts, you know. Especially when I know my child is finna burn up again.
Her child, Eric Dunlap, died a month after she could no longer afford the rent on her house.
I lost my house.
76 years old, working 2 jobs, she moved into this shed in her sister's yard. She has trouble getting up and down the stairs in her sister's house. But then on New Year's Eve, something sparked. An electrical fire consumed the shed.
I just thank God because I could have been in there sleep.
As it happened, she was inside the house with her sister, Mae Bryant.
Everything. All my clothes, everything.
Gone. Raleigh Station 11 came to knock down the flames.
When I got back to the station, I just kind of couldn't get her off my mind.
And into the next day, Captain Dina Ali could not get Betty Campbell off her mind.
Just thinking about her circumstances, thinking about the fact that she lost everything.
So she went on Facebook.
I'm just trying to collect a little bit of money to give her a gift card. Within minutes, my phone started dinging.
She thought she could raise a few $100s to buy her clothes.
I got donations from all over the country.
Within 24 hours, $4,000 came in and given to Miss Campbell.
It's just absolutely heartwarming.
Victor Company, a nonprofit made up of minority firefighters, worked with a company called AmeriGlide to install a stair lift in her sister's house for free.
There is a God that sit high and look low. There is people who will come when you need them.
We're not as divided as we think. I think we really truly share this common humanity that makes people want to look out for each other.
Because somewhere among the ruins is that spark. For those who have walked through the fire and been left in the cold, that spark of humanity can never be extinguished.
Again, that was Brian Mims reporting. The firefighters say Miss Campbell helped them more than they helped her. They say throughout the whole ordeal, her resilience and gratitude were remarkable. And that is Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.